how is this going to be different to the last forum we were on? And it's going to be different in a couple of different ways, because we're not going to throw presentations at you today. What we will do today is we're going to start off with a roundtable. So for the roundtable, we've got a couple of guests with us today. So we've got, and I'm just going to go through from my screen so we know alphabetical order. We've got Alex from the USA. We've got Antti from Germany, Cologne, our managing director. We've also got Marcelo, Gabriel, all the way down from South America. We've got Zoran Nikolic, that's also with us. And have I missed anybody out? No. Just making sure that I haven't missed anybody out. So we're going to do a Q&A. And what I do encourage you to do is, if you have a question, whether it's in the middle of one of the presentations or at any moment in time, please drop it in to the chat box. You know how to use the chat box? Drop it into the chat box if you have a question. And if you have a specific question, be it for any one of our speakers, Antti, Alex, Marcelo, put the name in so we can direct it directly to them, because we're going to start off with a roundtable, collecting questions. And then at the end of the questions, at the end of the roundtable, we'll do an open Q&A session, taking some of your questions in. Hopefully we'll get to all of them. If we don't get to all of your questions, we're going to direct them back to any of the speakers. And again, we've got lots of speakers that you will see there. And if they have any questions for any of the speakers, drop them in and we'll make sure that the speakers get back to you for any of those specific questions. So you drop the questions in as soon as you have one. What we're also going to be doing is certainly using the chat box. We're going to be using also the poll feature. We're going to be taking some surveys. So when Sebastian puts one up, there's a couple of different questions we're going to have. I invite you, I ask you, just drop in, answer the question, and you'll be able to see a live representation of the automotive aftermarket from different perspectives. I think we had about 180 people registered for this event. So we're going to have a lot of people, and you're going to get a lot of data out of it. Again, you might have noticed the session is being recorded. So if you have any technical issues, or you need to drop out, or internet goes down, or whatever the case may be, not to worry. We got you covered. We're going to record it. We'll send out, at the end of the session, we're going to send out an email. One that'll contain the link of the presentation that we're recording right now. But also what it's going to have is all of our 13 presentations. So these are country-specific presentations covering all key areas of the world. And if you combine it, I think we have over 5.5 hours of country presentations. So we're going to send you a link to the playlist of presentations. They're in country alphabetical order, and you can look at those. And certainly, if you have any questions on those specific presentations, again, please email me and I will connect you with the speakers. I'll get the speakers to put together some Q&A for us so that they can answer the questions that you have. And again, we'll send those out to everyone itself. So, that's, how this afternoon is roughly going to work. Leszek, as my wingman today, have I missed anything out that I should have said?
None that I can think of, so go ahead. While you are still ahead.
Much. So, okay, so then let's get going. And, as we all know, when you think of it, here we're standing kind of the beginning of 2021. But in 2020, a year ago, we thought the world was going in that direction. And literally a few weeks later, it kind of went in that direction. And I think most of you experienced that. So, my first question, and, Antti, as Managing Director of Wolk, I would like to start with you. When you look at 2020 as a year a whole, and I know you're going to speak, you've got your presentation on Germany that everyone can have a look at, but let's say if I can use you as the European, the voice of Europe, from a European perspective, was 2020 as bad, better or worse than what people expected in, when the lockdown started to happen in the March, April, May timeframe, call it early spring? So, Antti, if I can start with you, I would love to hear how you foresee Europe happening in 2020.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roberto. Yeah, indeed, if we take a look at the situation in April and March and compare the expectations back then with the today's situation, there might be some differences. Of course, we were expecting really a worse scenario during that period, and comparing with today, I would sum up that the most participants can say that it has become better than expected, which doesn't mean that everything went positive, but we overfilled the expectations because they were really down during the crisis times. Of course, on the European level, we need to see that it's very diverse among the different countries. But when we look for Germany, for example, at the pure numbers for the aftermarket, or looking only at the car service side, then we can see now that the losses are in somehow 4 to 5 digits. 4 to 5% only. So it's rather on a lower level, yeah, that's certainly completely under the expectations which we had, which went up to 15-20% maybe. But again, the European level is then quite different. And on the other hand, the car sales side is completely different to that. But we as a specialist on the aftermarket, we have now our totally view on the aftermarket side. So there we can say that the expectations are rather they were really bad, and at the moment, yeah, everybody is not really complaining. If we're looking at only the garages, the service side, yeah, we have this 4 to 5%. But we, as a market participant in very close contact with the industry, we can say also that we hear that from the industry side as well. So as more as they were tied to the OE market as a supplier, of course, they were hit very hard, but the aftermarket returned very good in the Q3 and Q4. So everything what was lost, a lot of that was recovered during that time again.
Okay, so Antti, if I heard you correctly, certainly, you know, it seemed a lot better than what was initially expected. Naturally, lots of regional country differences, but a strong rebound Q3, Q4, just again proving that the aftermarket is very resilient. And when you think of, you know, the Europe again, now I'm going to ask you just a little bit to kind of break it up a bit. Were there any, you know, regional differences maybe between North and South, or new Europe versus the old Europe? Any regional differences that you can highlight to us?
Yeah, definitely. There is, well, we conducted a survey, a questionnaire among 500 garages in November and December, and we asked them what they expect, how the year ends towards or compared with 2019. And there we clearly see that Spain, Italy, and also Poland, yeah, which are representative for the southern and eastern part, that they declined much more than especially the yeah, Germany, UK, France, and the northern part, which are more in that area which I just mentioned, in this 4 to 5% losses. And yeah, and surprisingly, we see that in several countries like Spain and Italy, for example, that the independent garages, they went very dramatically down by 20-25%. But the OES service side, when we're looking only at the service, not at the car sales, they did a bit better than the independent, whereby this is the opposite side in the other countries.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so lots of regional differences. And, you know, for all of our guests out there that are on, if you have a question specific for Antti, please, you know, don't wait, drop it into the chat box, and at least we can make sure that Antti, we'll get back to that one in the course of the afternoon. But I can say, Antti, thank you so much for that opening answer and a quick view on Europe. We will dive into a lot more detail in that. And again, for those of you, when you do get the link later this afternoon from Antti, will be a German perspective of it, but we do have 13 other presentations covering key markets around the world. Okay, now Antti, thank you so much. And again, any questions for Antti, please, in the chat box. Marcelo, if I can jump to you now, you've been with us before, both at the virtual as well as the online forums. Now, Marcelo, you're the director of Latin America Automotive Alliance, Aftermarket Alliance for Business, sorry, LA4B. I do apologize for getting it wrong. It is a bit of a mouthful, but welcome back again. And you're on mute.
Because Leszek made me mute, but now I can speak. So thanks, Robbie. Thanks, Robbie. It's very good to be here again. So it's the third year, if you put together 2019, 2020, and 2021. Good to see a lot of friendly faces here. We have some of my associates from Latin America on it, people that work with me from Meritor, from Federal Mogul, so it's good to be here. So let's talk about Latin America.
Yeah, no, welcome. And again, any questions for Marcelo, please drop them in the chat box at any moment in time. So Marcelo, question for you, very similar to Antti's question. When you look at 2020, Latin America, how did Latin America look at 2020? Better, worse? What was their impressions versus when you were in the spring in what seemed to be, the crisis time?
Good question, Robbie. When you talk at first last year, we were in the very beginning of the pandemic in the region, and Europe and Asia has already experienced the pandemic. We are starting this, and 2020 was a very hectic year for the continent in general. We had a lot of health issues in all the countries, but as Antti mentioned, but if you look for the new vehicle sales, you see this 28 to 30% low. But then you go for the aftermarket, the repair shops, even though the people or the consumer are a little bit reluctant to make investments, so they decided to repair the cars. So what we saw is a good movement towards the repair shops, but the smaller average ticket. I mean, the people are just making the minimum to keep the car running. But this is similar to what happened, similar in certain ways, what happened with the global downturn in 2008. But we see these days a little more of people reluctant, because this is related to health, not only to economy. But we see that 2020 was a learning year, and most of the companies that were not ready to face more than 2 or 3 months of cash flow or stop activities, unfortunately, they decided.
Oh, and Marcelo, you've gone back on mute.
I know this is what Leszek is doing, maybe. So don't do it again, please, Leszek. So what we see that there's a good opportunity for the remaining companies and also for companies that are interested in invest in this new market environment. What we see today is a new market environment for the automotive aftermarket. So the traditional way of do business is changed a lot, but then it's still changing. And you nothing, heads off. So I think we are looking for a new way of do business in Latin America for the next years.
Okay. So you're looking at new ways for doing business. It really came across that you've had some challenges and struggles in there. On the lighter side, any opportunities that come out of the learnings from 2020?
For sure, Robbie, for sure. The first lesson learned from 2020 is the traditional ways, like the just-in-time the best cost countries, sourcing, etc., proven not to be efficient anymore. We need to be closer to the market, and also an opportunity for new brands to show up. The traditional brands faced a lot of problems with shortage of parts, but the repair shops cannot wait for someone to decide if they have the part or not. So this is a good opportunity for companies interested in Latin America to entry in the market for a new environment, as I said, a new market environment, new players, new demands, new ways of do business. This for me is the principle, the main lesson learned from 2020 in the region.
So main lesson learned, the market is changing, but there's opportunities for new entrants, new suppliers, new business models, new entrepreneurial thinking in the market.
Yes, you're sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Marcelo. And again, any questions for Marcelo, please drop them into the chat box. We can direct them to Marcelo, and either we will get them answered in the course, or we'll get them answered at a later point, but we want to get them answered. Any other questions you might have. Then if I can jump on to Alexander, please unmute yourself. I know you're one of our new speakers. You're a new guest, a new friend of ours, and hopefully we're going to see you and you're going to be with us for many, many more online as well as face-to-face forums in the future. Now, Alexander, originally you are from Russia, but living in the US, you've been in the US for the last couple of years. And, I want to speak to you about the US market because, again, everyone's had different perspectives, and I'd love to hear what was the US perspective of how 2020 turned out. Again, from when it first happened to, when you look at financial year, end of the year, how was it? Was it better, worse, or pretty much what people had expected? You're on mute. Nope, still on mute. Leszek, anyway, we can unmute Alex? Because let's have a look.
Not that I can see. But this is his first time with Teams, so it's tricky.
We're going to have to turn him into a Teams expert. I'm sure we got a few Teams experts out there in amongst everyone.
The mute button is next to the leave button, the red one. So right hand corner. You have the camera switch,
camera,
and
microphone.
the microphone.
Nope. Nope.
Maybe we have to reconnect, Alex, and then just
we reconnect.
Turn it off and reconnect.
Okay.
And then it should work.
Okay, then Alex will join us in a second. While Alex rejoins us, then can I just change pace quickly and go back to Antti and ask a little bit more of a deeper question back to the European market. And Antti, I know, totally not prepared. We weren't expecting Alex to disappear. So if you need a
Is
couple
that better?
Yes, it's better.
No.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I was putting it on mute, but you don't hear me. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much for inviting, and thank you very much I'm glad to meet you all here. First time here with you, but not the first time already with the after sales conferences. And so I quickly jump to the questions. The year ended much better than it was expected at the beginning of pandemic. At the beginning of pandemic, the car sales was expected to go down, to decline by something like 50% or 30%, and then month by month, it's right. Okay, we are not going to fall 30%. We are going to fall 25%. Then we are not going to fall 25%. Probably we will end just with the 20% decline. And finally, with the car sales, we ended up with 15% decline. And inside, it's very big difference between corporate sales and private sales. Private sales are just down by 7%, and corporate sales is down by more than 30%. So it's mainly because of the corporate sales that are not as good as they were previously. And for after sales, it's mainly the same. It was not expected to go down by 50% or something like this. But at the beginning of pandemic, it was like, okay, 20% is something like we're going to have by the end of the year. And with the preliminary expectation, it's not yet finished or all the calculation, that we are going to finish here the market with something like 8 to 9% decline. So it's much better than it was expected. And one important point that US market recovered very quickly in after sales and in parts sales in particular. It was a big decline during the spring months with the quarantine, with the isolation, and so on and so on. But during the summer period, 3 months, a lot of parts hit the record, and sales was maximum, and it was better than ever before. Like in June, it was sold more tires than ever before. So it's like a lot of things are much, much better than what was expected during the beginning of the pandemic.
That is certainly interesting. Much, much better. Those are really interesting words and very encouraging words to hear that. And you know, and I'm excited because I'm a optimistic person by nature. But Alex, when you think of the US aftermarket, it was really good for all segments in the aftermarket, all areas, or were there some parts that some areas, some states, some regions that might have struggled a bit in there?
For sure, United States is big, like Europe or Russia. So by different kind of regions and different kind of states here, is for sure it's a different situation. Here in California, where is the biggest market, biggest state, biggest after sales, biggest everything in United States, it was fine, nearly for all the segments and so on and so on. But for different other states, the picture is a little bit different. What segments? Like online sales, e-commerce, it's boomed. It's just like plus 30% within last year. Within 2020, it's plus 30%. It's everywhere, but 30% is in after sales, in the parts sales specifically. So what was booming is e-commerce. Those who don't deal with the digital, who don't deal with the internet things, online things, and so on, they were having a hard times, specifically during the spring and beginning of the summer, because a lot of people really were afraid. They were really isolated at home. Who win the most in the United States is Amazon. Everybody purchase everything in Amazon. They win a lot. And all the others, big and small online shops, e-commerce, everybody from this segment win a lot.
No, Alexander, thank you. I mean, that's a really interesting one, especially when you say Amazon was one of the absolute big winners. But it certainly seems like, the US rebounded quickly. A lot of people online, but also some very entrepreneurial changes and thinking in there, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, you need to understand that to end it up with Amazon. Amazon last year, 2020, they sell $10 billion in spare parts. 10, yeah.
Wow.
So it is really nowadays. It's really the channel to sell the parts.
Yeah.
It's not only the original sales like with the parts and accessory stores, with the VM dealers, with the independent mechanical garages, and so on, but also now it's Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the others, the traditional channels, they also need to use this channel. In any case, drivers would like to buy the parts online. They would like to make an appointment online, and so on and so on. So
yeah.
Online get a very great boost in 2020.
Yeah. No, Alexander, thank you so much. Alexander Gruzdev, if you have any questions for Alexander, please drop them into the chat box. Alexander is the International Automotive Marketing and Business Intelligence expert at Gruzdev-Analyze. So any questions, please drop them into Alexander. We'll come back to Alexander in just a couple of seconds. Let's just go to our last speaker for today, which is Zoran Nikolic. Now, Zoran, we've heard three very different views of the market. We heard from Europe, which was, if I can put it down, cautiously optimistic. If I can look at, South America, Latin America, maybe a little bit more, not use the word pessimistic, but certainly potentially struggling. Then we hear from Alex that the US market recovered and boomed very, very well, which kind of, again puts us into the old saying, we're all going through the same storm, but at the same time, we've all got different boats in the storm. Some of us have got nice luxury yachts, and some of us have got a raft, and some of us are just holding on to a piece of wood. So, Zoran, from your perspective, because I know I see you as the guru who sees the biggest high-level overview of the global market. Is this what you would have expected, or are there some surprises in there, and anything that you can add that might be a major takeaway or something to highlight for us?
Yeah, thank you very much, Robbie. First of all, I want also to say thank you to Total Auditorium today to join us and to be today with us. Indeed, in this picture, what you show to us, what you said right now, that we have some optimistic situation in USA, maybe some short pessimistic overview in Latin America, and some realistic or neutral view in Europe. It is actually a picture of our world at all. From this perspective, it is also not it is something what I have expected also. It is also something to connect also the situation how the public sector get support to the in this crisis and so on. It maybe it's also another view, another picture inside. I would like to summarize it following. This is the crisis, and Marcelo said at certain point also that it is a possibility for an opportunity to learn. It's the learning. And again, even if it's something what so many people said and everybody knows already, that aftermarket business is a crisis-resistant business, a stable business. You can count to this always. And I would like to address from this position right now also to upper management of manufacturing companies. Yes, where aftermarket is only one segment of the market, to understand finally, we have learned through so many crises that aftermarket is stable business, finally understand that this segment needs more care from the management side. I don't want to say that it's not right now. But I'm very pretty sure compared with another segments in their businesses that aftermarket after sales business, aftermarket business is at least a third stage. That's why clear I would like to address this learning to this group of people. Maybe if somebody is auditorium from this from group, I would like to address this to directly, or if somebody knows somebody who is in this group, please do it. Please do this in my name. And yeah, but also from another side, crisis is a crisis. If we take out this quantitative perspective, which is for sure not compare with some with other crises we have faced in last 10-20 years. So I will make small comparison with 2008. You know, for sure it is not the same, but in the structure of this crisis is one point, and there is also the situation that crisis is a trend accelerator and catalyst for trends. And I will also make this as a kind of next question to another friends in the group here. Which trends do you see, and that's something change, and what is clearly the trend number one? I will just get also another impression from my side. Analyzing the crisis of 2008, we have seen clearly that the trend of international consolidation and consolidation process was started during the crisis, and then with the much higher engagements of private equity companies and downsizing of, for example, so another part like hedge funds and directly bank investments, that pushed this kind of business, and then started this international consolidation with this point. So I would like to provide this question to the group.
Okay, no, it's a great question, and thank you, Zoran. It's a very interesting observation that in every crisis there's absolute opportunities in there, and crises definitely create trends in there. And you know, I certainly, and you know, I've certainly seen that any time of a crisis, it seems like communication certainly speeds up. In terms of, you know, if I can put it that, you know, well, what we did in 1 month, we now need to do in a week, and what we did in a week, we need to do in a day, and what we did in a day becomes an hour, if I can put it that way. At least some of the things that I've seen. But I would like to open up. Alex, Marcelo, any thoughts on, you know, the questions that, you know, Zoran had from your region, your perspective, or what you see from, you know, either your perspective or just, you know, your thoughts on them, either on the trends. I mean, we spoke about some of the opportunities, but what are some of the trends coming out?
Does it work?
Yes, it does.
Good, thank you. From my perspective, what are the main trends? I already mentioned the main trends is e-commerce, and everything goes online. The car sales goes online. You can have a look on the new companies, which never before they were here in the US and just started in the last 5 years, like Carvana, Shift, and all the others. They increase and increase and increase their business, and they now are fighting and competing the traditional dealers. But still here, traditional dealers have no worries at the moment. But they will if they don't change, if they don't use online, they will have problems. Everybody will have problems. Those who don't use online or digital tools. So this is one of the main trends concerning the consolidation. It's easier to sell by internet. You don't need the front office. You don't need the very good, like the same with Carvana. Their buildings, they are located not in very front positions, and it's cheaper for them to rent or to have it, to have the property and so on. So some kind of small businesses, unfortunately, today in 2020, they are not dead because the government helps and helps a lot. The businesses are not dead at the moment, but we will see what happens when the help is ended. And I think that a lot of small businesses are going to close as soon as the help ends.
Okay.
So in this case, we will see a decline in number of point of sales in different things, but not for after sales, because the car sales decline, in meaning that the car park is going to be older and older. They will need more parts. They will need more repair for these older car park. So the after sales, from my perspective, they have good next few years.
No, thank you, Alex. So yeah, it sounds like certainly again the power of e-commerce coming into play in the US. Now, Marcelo, I'm going to ask you the question. Is the power of e-commerce as strong in Latin America? Is it at that level? How is that developing? Is that even a trend?
Good question, Robbie. This is something Amazon is trying to conquer this universe, and is being harder due to our famous unsolved problem, applications and catalogs. So the problem is, even with all the automation that e-commerce can generate, logistics is still a problem. So you have to imagine that around 70% of all the repair shops are smaller. They have maybe 4 employees, space for 5 to 6 cars. They cannot wait 24 hours for a part. So there is an ecosystem already in place for the aftermarket in general in the region, with motorcycles, with fast deliveries, with parts that goes to the repair shops, and then the technician said, oh, this is the wrong brake pad, so the motorcycle go back to the parts store and make the replacement. So it's impossible with the e-commerce. What we see is a growing of e-commerce on non-technical parts, accessories, batteries, tires, things that you can maybe arrange for a maintenance, not for the technical parts. And one of the things that Zoran mentioned about the trends and etc., one thing that is happening is, from the last 10 to 15 years, the regional distributors were growing in Brazil to offer a most comprehensive offer. And so what we see the maturity of the regional distributor. So the store next door consolidate and open up more 5 or 6 branches, and they are operating. And that goes back to the point I mentioned. The traditional brands are in some way losing this battle, because the regional distributor don't have the top brand. So they go for a second brand or a third brand, and repair shops need parts. And they try once, they try twice, and there is no problem. They keep to use these products. We see a lot of brands that are unknown from the market in general. So I took my wife's car to the repair shop. They are using air filters, oil filters, and fuel filter from a brand that's not the number 1 or number 2, is the number 4. So I asked the guy why. He said, because this is available and this is good. So this is one point that will be fostered or boosted by the pandemic. So to be closer and to not have too many steps and many levels will foster your business in the region. But remember, we are talking about a huge continent with a huge of regional differences. So this is not an easy task to manage here.
No, Marcelo, thank you. So it certainly sounds, the Latin American market really being pushed more by the need, or we need spare parts. So the spare parts aren't available, and that's what's driving different channels, different opportunities out there. And again, a reminder to everyone, any questions you have for any of our speakers, please drop them into the chat box. We do want to open it up to an open Q&A. And Antti, just quickly there, is there anything you would like to add on what you heard from Marcelo and from Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Robbie, that you're asking. Certainly, I would like to share also the European view on the general trends we had already before the pandemic. But as you said, which is completely correct also from our perspective, that for certain or parts of the trends, the pandemic is a very an accelerator. And that's similar there. I agree completely with Alex, or the American market. We see also that the e-commerce and in general the digitalization is one of the main winners out of this crisis. And not only within the crisis, but we think it will stay also within the next years. And I would like to strive out two special developments, even among those. That on the one hand, we see that not all the e-commerce is treated similar, that we have here the fact that the market leaders are gaining way more or taking more part of the shares, what has gained now than to others. It was already a trend in the years before that the times when e-commerce players are growing year by year 20% and 20%. Was not working for everybody anymore, but there are market leaders, and there is especially to now, when we're looking at the sales of car parts in Europe, the company Autodoc, which is looking forward to do 800 million turnover this year, which is approximately 30% on more than the sales before. So with this turnover, they already are among the top 10 between all the independent distributors. So the e-commerce players are coming into this among the top 10 players, and we see also that this is not only a pandemic trend, because the results of our survey said also that the garages which are the B2B customers to these players, which is still on a very low level, something 3 to 5% of their purchases they doing on this B2C channels, but they assume or estimate that this will grow up to 8% or something. So this is a high share if we calculate this to on the volumes, and a high share of volume which is going to switch from the traditional to the online. And similar to this is that the part of people or car drivers bringing their car parts to the garage is growing also, and they mostly buy the car parts also online. So this is definitely the biggest winner of this trends. But another one is also that we see an acceleration of the sales of EVs. They doubled up against to all the other drives. So here is certainly a significant change to see, which is driven by the ecological mindset, but also the political or governmental pressure, of course. Regarding consolidation, I would say that we see, as I said, among the e-commerce players is a completely different consolidation, which is also accelerating way faster. And the other companies, we saw also during the lockdown that there was no activities, but since July or even after the summer, the mergers, acquisitions, they started. And especially in Germany, we have the situation that the bankruptcies or insolvency reportings, they are not to be reported or don't have to be reported as long as the lockdown period is active. So There we can't see it or measure it at the moment, but it's to be expected that we will see the real economical impact after the money is cut off.
Yeah. No, Antti, thank you. I mean, you mentioned three very interesting trends, the acceleration of EV sales, the online sales, as well as the economic impacts. Out of the ones you mentioned, which one would you say has the biggest impact for the aftermarket in Europe?
As we expect that the increase of EVs will develop rather slightly, and that the impact will be on a lower level, I would say the e-commerce is definitely the higher impact to the aftermarket, because it's also in combination with the digitalization in general. And as the aftermarket again proved its resilience to crises like this, I expect that many more either stakeholders or not stakeholders of the aftermarket will push into the aftermarket with new innovations, and they probably will be also more digital innovations than traditional ones.
Thank you, Antti. Again, anyone have any questions, please drop them into the chat box. I'm going to hand it over to Leszek in just a moment, and Leszek will pull out some of the questions. So I can only say, on behalf of Wolk After Sales Experts, to all of our speakers, all of our guests today, thank you so much for being here. And if you've got your camera on, I'd like you to do me a favor, stick your hands in the air. Come on, everyone, hands in the air. And as we virtual, I'd like to give everyone a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much. This is for all of our speakers. So Leszek, if I can hand it over to you, and you're going to pull out some questions that you've seen from what's coming in on the chat.
So far the questions were few, and they were already replied by our speakers on the chat. So if you scroll, you can read those replies. I will put Roberto's mail on the chat, because we want to give you the opportunity that if you have later any questions, and specifically if you have any questions after watching the presentations, then you can still ask those questions, even if those presentations are just recorded. We will forward then your question to our experts, and they will record the answers for you. So there is a mail on the chat. If you were just note that mail, it was also good to have the mail for Robbie in case you have any questions for our company. But still, if you watch the presentation, if you have any questions, then forward the question to Roberto, and we will take care and make sure that you will get the answer.
Okay, thank you, Leszek.
There's one question for Antti. Did you make a survey on the general repair rate in Germany? How much did the figures decline? Do you have specific data about the Germany, Antti?
As I said, we did a survey on 10 different countries in Europe, among those also Germany. And on top of that, we some of you might know about this. We launched this workshop barometer in the springtime, and we are also going to launch a new consultancy program where we have really deep insights into what the garages really do, and there we have the information, or the among all participating garages here. If we take a look how they end up with their turnover in 2020, as I said, it's something between 4 to 5% minus among any kind of repairs. So that's something what is only for the typical independent mechanical garages.
Thank you, Antti. Hopefully that answered the question. I'm not sure who it came from. Hopefully that answered the question. Any other questions that you might have, please drop them into the chat box. Any of our speakers are happy to take your questions now. Leszek, do you see anything coming in there?
Not now. I think everyone is eager to watch the presentations.
Okay, perfect. And if everyone is absolutely eager to watch the presentations, then what will happen next after we disconnect, we'll be sending out to everyone an email with the recording of what just happened today in case you've had any technical issues. But also there will be a playlist, the link to all of the presentations. Again, 13 country-specific presentations. All of our speakers that were on today have done one, and a lot more. So please, there's over 5.5 hours, 13 countries, a lot of fantastically good information. Get the email. Look, hopefully it doesn't go in your spam. Look out for it and go and see those videos. Any questions, please reach out to me. Happy to connect you with the speakers. Leszek, anything else that we're missing out?
I just put the link because all the presentations are for your comfort on the YouTube. There is a playlist. All the presentations are arranged in the alphabetical order. So if you are interested in a particular region or a country, you can easily find them. And this is a playlist on the YouTube that is already linked in the chat, but also you should receive that link through the mail. And those videos are there to stay, so take your time to watch them, because this is almost over 5 hours of watching, so probably not in one go.
Leszek, maybe you can sum up shortly what countries and regions we cover, or these videos cover.
We went, to be honest, 3/4 of around the globe. So we started in the, let's go from the west to east. We have Latin America, we have USA, of course. We have we soon have your high level overview of the Europe, but then we also deep dive into some chosen countries of Europe, like Portugal, Italy, and Poland. There's Sub-Saharan Africa, because this is a very interesting region and affected by COVID in quite different way. We have Gulf countries, we have India, we have Southeast Asia, we have also China, and there is one different view, because those views were regional, provided by experts that know those regions. But we also have a German parts manufacturer, IKA Germany, which operates on the global level. They are mostly delivering, for example, private labels to the distributors, and then they have their own insights on how they were affected by COVID problems on different markets, and they are quite open to discuss those. So there is a automotive parts manufacturer's perspective at the end of the playlist from the IKA Germany.
Thank you, Leszek. And if one of my favorite markets that is also Russia, that's also included in there. So 13 different markets, 13 different presentations, a lot of valuable information. Now, and Leszek, help me out if there's no further questions, then that really brings us to the end of our session today. And on behalf of Wolk After Sales Experts, I can only say thank you to everyone for joining our online forum for 2021. Keep a lookout for all of the emails with all of the playlists, but thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you for your time. I wish you a wonderful Friday wherever in the world you are, and a fantastic weekend. But thank you to everyone, and that concludes today's session. Do you have a complete strategic market overview covering all of the key players in 37 countries across Europe? Can you compare your sales by country against the market and your competitors? Are you aware of all of the latest trends driving the aftermarket today? Would having all of this information in your pocket be of benefit to you? The Wolk After Sales Access database gives you a complete market structure, showing you the key market players by country, taking the guesswork out of any strategic, tactical or marketing decision, guiding you and your team to the best decisions that you can have for your business today. To find out more about how you can access market volumes, understand the European garage structures and the who's who of buying groups, sign up for your free 30-minute sales access database session now.